All right, let's see if we can answer this last issue, and then we'll move on to the Gemara. All right, we'll get that done. Try to push on the Gemara today also. All right, so what's the last issue? So we're going to take it out. We're going to take it the way the Ritva approaches it. So on Kuchakim al-Beis, we know that in the last relaxation step, so Abaye says that all the issues beforehand are all a case of Yad Echad, right? Right, but Shtei Yadayim would be a problem. Kamash Rana, no, they relax Shtei Yadayim as well. Rava says that in his last step that it's that really all the issues that were mutter are only by Adam Echad, right? But Shnei Bnei Adam would be a problem. Kamash Rana, even Shnei Bnei Adam. Okay, let's take a look at the Ritva. Let's read them inside. Okay, Kaplan, you gonna read today? All right. So the Ritva says what?
Oh yes, I'm drafting you for my fantasy thoroughly.
Ein Adam Echad, Ein Shnei Bnei Adam, Lo.
Good. So V'im Tomar. Okay, so stop. So that's an important thing. See, this is I was telling those two bozos over there. One thing you have to realize is that if you try to approach initially, right? I tried to approach Machlokas without looking at a Rishon. Okay, because I said, okay, well, let's see if I can define Yad Shtei Yadayim against Adam Echad Shnei Bnei Adam. But you're going to run into a problem. Because what are you lacking there? Well, common denominator. In other words, if you look at this, how would you be able to define? This seems to be much different than this, right? So the Ritva picks up on that problem. That's his question. His question is, well, what are they arguing about? So what does he say? Dabayi mefarish. Okay, so now this is where you have to start being sensitive to the later Rishonim, right? Okay, he's adding one important word there. No. He says what? He says Larabos heter afilu b'shnei bnei adam. Okay, meaning okay. So this is one thing you guys missed out on. I'll explain to you what you missed out on in a second. I'll show you. Because one question you still have to ask. Okay, it's not the most critical question, but it's an important question. Go on. So what does he say?
Dubai, Savar, Kevan, Tahani, Hatero, Atil,
Draga, Basa, Draga. So since what do? They relaxed step by step. Okay.
Yeah. Veiga, Dukma, Lugma, Hetera, Tani Kohakilim, Eaton, Shabbat, Ishtei Yadayim.
Right. Okay. And we know the last step in the heter process is what? All kalim can be moved on Shabbos b'shtei yadayim. Lo maskinam le. He didn't want a matir by two people. The tafasta muat tafasta. So on the surface, that sounds like a really what kind of answer? Well, do you understand what that meant first? Okay, so let's understand what it means. And all right, that's obviously from my question. That's what I'm going to say. But he's saying like this. He's saying that okay, understand how many logical steps do we have from here to here? Okay, assuming that these are equal. Okay, no.
Abaye?
Abaye.
Whoever says one.
No, 1 second. If we go from here to here,
Abaye doesn't go.
I know he doesn't. But if you wanted to,
It will be two.
no. Okay, what are the two steps? Okay, fine. So I would say there are 3 points, but 2 logical steps. Yad echad to Adam echad to Shnei Bnei Adam. So the Ritva is saying on the surface, why does Abaye not jump to Shnei Bnei Adam?
Because you need it to be one step.
Right. Since everything goes in 1 step, there would be 2 steps, right? Because you'd have to go from Yad echad to Adam echad and from Adam echad to Shnei Bnei Adam. What kind of answer is that? Yikes. Okay, keep going. Yeah, what's Rava going to say then? Rava Savar. No. So Rava Savar the Kalim the Kanai Kol Kalim Nitlin. Since what's the lashon? All the Kalim are what? All Kalim can be moved. Okay. Lishna diribuyahu. It's an inclusive word, right? Kol Kalim means what? All, right? So therefore, the Rabbo says kulam, v'afilahem dolam kama. So he says no. He says that the fact that it's going to say at the end kol, right? You want to be it's going to be the most expansive idea possible. Okay, so that's his first shot, right? Okay, what's your question? According to Rifus for Pshat, what's an issue in? It's a linguistic issue. It's saying, okay, well, on the one hand, normative Gemara methodology is you want to limit. If you see a trend of limiting chidushim, you want to follow the trends. Whereas the other side said, well, that's tafasta, mua tafasta. The other side says, no, but the fact is the word kol is an expansive term. Okay, but there's no conceptual difference in those. There's no intrinsic conceptual difference you're going to determine from that. So the Rif's first shot, and that's why he has an inami. His first shot is you could learn it out as like a Gemara methodology type thing. Like the question of which principle wins out. Do we say the lashon of kol or do we say tafasa muat tafasta? Yes. Let's get his real answer. Inami. Okay, so really they're arguing besvara. Okay. What?
Or is this one not svara?
It's not a svara. It's just a question of which principle they decide to use. It's not a svara. There's no svara there. What?
Is it definable then?
What do you mean random? Okay, slowly. So what does he say? He says Abaye holds that anything that cannot be moved by one person ain't latira. That's the move to say adam echad. If it can't be moved by one person, you would never matir to be able to move it.
We wouldn't be able to collapse the base measures on Shabbos.
Correct. Well, right, correct. When Abaye. Okay.
Assuming that we didn't already have Muktzeh objects.
Correct. Keep going. Okay. The duchsa miyachale. Okay. The Rabba Savar.
The koshi shalav Torah's kli.
Torah's kli.
Afilu hu gadol kama ra'oi.
Lahatiro. Okay. So what's the other side? The other side is what? Is that once the thing has a definition of kli to it, right? Once it's called a kli, then it doesn't matter, right? There's no restriction. There's no idea of yad echad or any of that business. Once it's defined as a kli, that's it. Okay. So what's the first side? So Abai is saying what? Abai is saying that they only matired what? A kli that could be moved by a person, but his havmina was what? Yad echad, one hand versus two hands, which means one person. And Rav is saying that no. Rav is saying that once there's Torah's kli to it, right? Of course, two people can move it, right? Yeah. But what was the havamina though? Havamina was, come on, what's the havamina in Rava?
It was 9.
What? Or the original version?
It was 9.
Right. No. He has to always say it's Torah's kli. It's just that for some reason there's a restriction in two people versus one.
Big kli versus small.
Right. Why? Okay. And once again, and Riffa points out one other thing. He says at the end there, he says, and also realize when he says Shnei B'nei Adam, it doesn't really mean two men. It means what?
More than one.
More than one. Okay, it could be.
10,000.
What?
10 point.
Well, he says Afilu Basar B'nei Adam.
Yeah, but then he says that if it's too big.
Yes, then it's not a kli anymore.
Right.
There's a certain point where a house is not a kli. Okay. Can we agree to that?
They're having me
No, why?
The gaver as a metaltal. In other words, and there's a relationship that the metaltal has to have with this.
So if this
object
tree is able to be moved by 3 people, it's not movable like me.
Right. Right. No, when we're getting out of function, we don't care. When we look at the kli right now, we're not looking at a power drill or a spoon.
No, we are.
We're not looking at a power drill or a spoon. What are we looking at?
Kli.
Right. But what property are we isolating?
If it is movable.
The tiltleness, okay? The tiltability, the movability of the kli. Okay, so the fact that right now at this point in time, this is the reason why, by the way, you have to understand this point. This is the reason why the Gemara doesn't even mention anything about kli shematel isser heter here. It isolates this. Why is it isolating this point? Because it's telling you that. No, because it doesn't care. Of course that exists in there.
You're not viewing insofar as definitions like
right.
Shematel X.
Right, exactly. We're saying what's its tiltability, right? How is this? What? It's right. It's the tiltability of the kli that's being evaluated now. So if you make that one move, okay, now you can start understanding a little bit about what they're arguing about. But is everyone clear with that? In other words, we're not talking about the gaver's relationship to the function of the kli. It's not my relationship to this water bottle. It's my relationship as a metaltel. Right. Is this thing the tiltability, the movability of that kli? Okay, whatever. That's great. But one step we definitely made that's good, okay, is that you would have to argue that normative. Say it again, Ariel, the way you like to say it. Just by yad echad, not shnei.
Normative movement is via one.
Okay, normative tiltal is via one hand. Okay, that is a normal way you do tiltal. Now let's explore the other thing. So Ariel wants to say, but therefore, if it requires two hands, it's not normative tiltal. But why not? Why not? Why don't we just arbitrarily draw a line by two hands? That's the question. So there must be a greater expression of something. Hold on. There must be a greater expression of something taking place in two hands. You don't have that one hand. In other words, there's a greater hisaskus between involvement between one and two hands. One hand is a basic involvement. Two hands means it's a more intense involvement, so to speak. Let me finish. Between me and this object. It's a greater level of involvement. But what's that feature in the human realm that is expressing that? Dexterity. Because if an object requires two hands to move, it means I have to express more dexterity in my movement of the object. So that's why, by the way, it's not an arbitrary line. Because the question was, in the first step, only the simple basic movement was mutter. Because we don't want any object that requires a maximum expression of dexterity is something that you can't move on Shabbos. The relaxation was, even if it requires the highest quality of dexterity, it's still mutter to move. Not wait! Okay. What does Rava say? Rava goes from what? Rava goes from Adam Echad to Shnei Bnei Adam. Right? So what's Rava's move? New guys, what's Rava's step by step?
Step by step is that first is one man, then there are two men.
Awesome, that's the facts. Now what's he saying?
One is that if a gobber can move an object himself, that's an immovable object. Then it says no, it's not even one gobber. An object is movable in and of its inability that it can be moved.
But it can be moved because two people can move a sofa.
Exactly. That's why two says you can. Yeah.
That's why. So what was the first step?
Oh, the first step is that no, it's not if an object can move. It's if a man can move an object.
If a man can move an object, and then the second one is. But why do they make that? Again, you're not isolating the quality.
Right. It takes 2 steps.
Right. Okay. So okay, fine. But the first step you're making, I agree with. The first step you're going to say is that if what's the difference between one man and two men in their relationship? Two men in their relationship to the object.
Neither man independently can move the object.
Okay. So therefore, one man means that there's a natural relationship between him and the tiltal. Right. Two people means that there's no. If you require another person, what does that mean? I don't have a natural relationship.
You have no relationship with tiltal.
Right. Good. Okay. That's the first step, but you can go further than that. That's definitely the first step you got to take. The first step you got to take is that, without question. Step. There's the first step is that we're talking about again the relationship between the gavra and the kli, okay, insofar as tiltal is concerned, and that therefore there's a natural relationship that exists between me and the object if I can move it by myself. But if I need someone else to move it, what do I say? The object is able to be moved in potentia, right? But right now I can't move it.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
It's dinner the chapter as a movement in potentia.
I can't move an object on my own. That's I think the main point. If I can't move an object on my own, okay, what does that mean then? What does that mean? We've established before that I'm not relating to the kli, and there's no natural relationship between me and the object if I can't move it, which makes sense. If I can't move it myself, the tiltability is restricted, right? It doesn't mean it can't be moved. Right? It exists in potentia, but I want to go a little further.
Less three for it.
Well, that's the question. The question is, in other words, the question is this: if I cannot move the object on my own, okay?
There's less utility.
Well, you don't say utility, but insofar as the realm of tzarach is concerned, right? Insofar as if I can't move it on my own, so the initial thing was saying that insofar as tzarach Shabbos is concerned, there's no avenue to express it. In other words, when I move, I'm going to kill you in a second. When I move a kli, my ability to move a kli, there's no. When I'm suggesting this, I'm suggesting that there's no expression at tzarach. There can never be an expression at tzarach. Okay, it can never be an expression at tzarach if I cannot move the object myself.
What?
Okay. Yes. That's what I'm saying. That's the idea of my relationship to the kli. In other words, Abaye was talking about what do you call it? The nature of the movement itself. Let's be quiet. I'm not done yet. Abaye's talking about the nature of the movement itself. Okay, he's saying, insofar as the nature of the movement is concerned, you have different kinds of movements. All right. Rava's not talking about the nature of the movement. He's talking about what? He's saying that insofar as if I cannot move this object on my own, so then what's the tzarach of the object? Or how is that kli have any expression at tzarach whatsoever? If I can't move it on my own.
Maybe the claw means
The nature of the movement is if I cannot move the object on my own, it becomes defined as a purposeless movement. Okay?
You can move an object defined as purposeless movement.
No, what I mean by you can't move it is the normative movement. It doesn't mean that I can't budget. If you can budget, then we're not talking about that kind of situation. We're not talking about where the object's bolted into the ground.
No, but if you can move it, that's not purposeless.
No, that's so the Hamid is saying that purpose only exists in potentia because I can't do it myself, right? So I need someone else in order to bring about that movement. So Kamash wanted to know, and again, similar expansion. It's saying no, as long as as long as tzarach exists and potentia, I can move the object, even on my own. No, it's even if I'm budging the object.
Is a